Restlessness, it is a symptom of disconnection with God. I want to go on this topic that we spoke about yesterday because many today are restless. Many who heard the message yesterday identify themselves with this topic. And I will read a verse from Proverbs 15:16 that speaks about restlessness. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble. Let me explain this matter to you before going into this proverb, using the story of someone who I met and I spoke to recently. A young woman, today a young woman. Think about someone who lived their whole life restless. It seemed like they had no peace, filled with uneasiness. Today she is 30 years of age, but it all began in her childhood when she was 8 or 9. The father cheated on the mother, abandoned the family, a traumatic separation. The father left her mother with her and 2 other siblings. What did the mother do? The mother, having no structure or whatsoever to deal with it, started to pour all her frustration upon the children. And as she was the eldest, she took most of it. Then she would hear, "You're worthless, you only disturb me, you are good for nothing, you will find a man as your dad did to me," and things along these lines. And you can imagine. So this child became a youth who was restless. And what does a restless youth do? What do you think a young woman who is restless does? She found a boyfriend. Conclusion: at the age of 15, she was a mother. At 18, she had another child with another father. At her early 20s, she had the 3rd child. Today, she's in her 3rd marriage. And who makes the whole family restless? Her 3 children and her 3rd husband. It's her. In other words, she became like her mother. And one of the main problems that she spoke about, it is because her husband doesn't help me. She said, "My husband doesn't earn enough." In other words, what we concluded in our conversation is that both have enough not to live a sumptuous life, but to live well. Both work. Both have a life that is good enough, not of misery, but relatively good. But her restlessness, her uneasiness that began in her childhood led her to think that if she does not have more money, she's not secure. In other words, she's trying to find peace, security in her bank account. And as long as she does that, she makes the life of her children and her husband a living hell. Of course, we understand. We spoke. We're not going to give much details now, but we tried to understand the root of it. That though she may have a lot of money, she won't solve the problem with restlessness in the soul. They started long ago. It says this proverb: better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble. In other words, you can have a great treasure and still to live restless. The world is filled with rich people who are restless, wealthy people who are not satisfied with anything that money can buy them. That's why they're always coming up with something new. A new drug, a new party, a new car, a new trip, a new woman, new husband, new wife, new this, new that. Why? The soul is restless. And the poor think if they have money, they will solve their restlessness. The rich think if they have more money, they will solve their restlessness. Or if they find a new experience, something they've never felt, they'll solve their restlessness. And you won't. Restlessness in the soul cannot be solved with something material, with distractions, entertainment, which is what people search for. I can have a new house, new car, or I need to vent, I need to travel, I need to get a new diploma, I need to learn this or that. They keep trying to solve the restlessness in their soul, but do you know what is happening to their soul? You might have dreamt, I believe all of us had this experience. Have you ever dreamt that you were falling? It is funny because almost everyone have dreamt like if they were falling. And you wake up with butterflies in your stomach and you are happy because it was just a dream. Yes, this sensation in a dream that felt so real that most probably you even woke up. When you were about to fall, that sensation that you have nothing to lean on, this is the sensation of uneasiness of the soul. But think about this sensation happening all the time, 24/7. It is a soul that has no ground to lean on, to step on. So it is constantly like someone who is falling down and trying to grope on something. They move their arms, their legs, trying to grope on something. The soul is restlessly trying to hold on something, but nothing gives them security. As we spoke before, restlessness, it is a symptom of disconnection with God. I'll reinforce this point. Pay attention. Disconnection with God, it doesn't mean that the person has no faith. No. Many restless people have faith. It doesn't mean that the person has no faith. It doesn't mean that the person doesn't attend the church. This person that I'm talking about, most of her life, she spent in the church. She's from the church. So a person can go to church, they can believe in God, they pray, they read the Bible, but still they are restless because they are just being religious. They are not connected to God. They are following what they've learned. They went to church and they learned, I need to go to church. Sunday, this day, say this prayer, read the Bible, and they do. You need to do this and that, fasting, present offerings. They do. But they do all this for the wrong reasons. They do things expecting some reward, some blessing, and they don't do this to know God, to connect with God, because connection with God, pay close attention to what I'm going to tell you. To connect yourself to God, it is not to be religious. To connect yourself to God is for you to make Him your ground. It's for you to make Him your rock, your safe haven, your assurance about tomorrow. He is my assurance. I'm not leaning on money, wealth, people, knowledge. I'm leaning on Him. What gives me security about tomorrow is Him. But people who at times say they believe in God, they can know it theoretically, but in practice, they say, I need to have money in my bank account. Yes, I'm not saying you should be miserable or poor, that you shouldn't have money. I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is that you should put your dependence on God above this. If you depend on money, you will never have enough money, because money is never enough. It is very good. It solves a lot of problems, but it is not enough. So you will never have enough. It doesn't matter how many zeros you add on the right of your bank balance. You will never be enough. If God is not in whom you depend on, you can have a wonderful spouse, children, house, diplomas, beauty. You can have everything, dear friend, but your soul will remain restless because it is not connected to God. You must connect yourself to God. And to connect yourself to God is to understand that He is a Father. He takes care of us. He's trustworthy. You can place on Him your worries, anxieties, and you must trust. To use your faith, which is not religion, to use your faith is to rest on His word. You rest on His promise. He promised and He will fulfill. This is faith. This is connection with God. As Job said, I know that my Redeemer lives. I know that He lives. I trust in Him. I'm connected to Him. I have a vow with Him. Why can I trust Him? Because He's trustworthy. Why can I be sure? Because He never fails. I can fail, but He never fails. And my life is in His hands. I'm leaning my life on Him and on nothing else or no one else. That's why I can rest. It is what Jesus said. That widespread lesson, that people know it by heart, but they don't practice. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and the rest shall be added unto you. Have you been doing this, or you have been doing the opposite? You have been seeking everything else first, and God is just the dessert. It's an add-on. Many get deceived, and they think they are seeking God while they are seeking other things. They seek God to find the other things. God is not enough to them. They want God to have the other things, because to have these things is what will make them happy. As long as you treat God just as a means to an end, dear friend, you will never connect yourself to Him. Never. Make God your Alpha and your Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the end. He's everything. He's enough. My grace is enough. If His grace is not enough, so nothing else will be enough. Remember this, and that's why your soul will remain restless. But don't forget, restlessness in the soul, it is a symptom of disconnection with God. So repair the connection and you will solve the problem with restlessness. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.